Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. As always, welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. It is Angel Ortega. A lot of stuff to talk about this week. Obviously, we got UFC Vegas 60 to go over. We got to talk about Bellator 283 going down from Ireland. We got to talk about Canelo Alvarez defeating Gennadiy Golovkin, as well as a boatload of news about MMA and boxing and more. Before we get into all of that, as always, we are brought to you by Rogue Energy. If you want 10% off your order at rogueenergy.com, use code SOUNDOFF at checkout. Use code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% off of all your energy needs. Guys, I gotta admit, I'm going on vacation this weekend. Gonna have some fun, and it's a bit of a drive, but guess what? I'm gonna have my Rogue Energy shaker bottle with me, keep me fueled on the road. That's how it is. And you guys can also be fueled as well. If you go to rogueenergy.com, use code SOUNDOFF at checkout. 10% off. Support us and support your stuff as well. Get something nice. Last Saturday night from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, the bantamweights, Corey Sandhagen and Song Yadong going to war in the headliner. Look, man, going in, we kind of all knew this is going to be the way to find out if Song Yadong is legit or not, or not. In terms of like the top five, I guess you should say, because we know that he's a good fighter. But we don't really know if he was kind of at that top five level. His best win is obviously Marlon Moraes, who we will talk about later. But in terms of finding out if he's kind of, obviously at the age of 24, if he's legit enough to break out the top five. Look, man, we learned a lot, and we know that even though he did not come out on top in this one, we learned that this kid is a legit. He's going to be a future contender. This fight was incredible. Corey Sandhagen ends up getting the win after 4 rounds via doctor stoppage. The doctor all night just saying fucking, just going full, just bleed. This fight could have been stopped, and other fights could have been stopped way earlier, due to some cuts, but they let this one go. I believe going into the 5th round, Sandhagen was either up on the cards or it was tied. I know that there were kind of, different, the judges had this one kind of split down the middle. Angel, as far as the fight goes for you, what do you think about Sandhagen? What do you think about Yadong? And how do you have that one scored going into the 5th and final round?
You know, I'm pissed because I was keeping track of the scorecard, and on verdict, you can't redo your scorecard. So after I did it wrong, I was like, fuck, it's chalked. It's not going to look right. So I stopped doing it after the first round because I gave Sandhagen the first round on accident. I meant to give it to Son. But, I was actually going to keep track of one for this one. I didn't end up doing it because I got triggered. But, as far as the actual fight itself, I mean, look, it was a great performance by Corey Sandhagen. Let's just be honest. Went in with a good game plan. He's just so fucking good, dude. He's really that guy. I picked against him just because one of my favorite things to do, man, is when you get the underdog pick right. You know? When you get the underdog pick, or you get a close fight, right? Like, but it's one that you're like, and then if in hindsight the other guy wins, or whatever, it's still a surprise, or whatever it may be. And we saw, dude, Yadong, man, he's not far from, being there yet. But he's so young that it doesn't even matter. He didn't really lose anything. And Corey gained from it, which is good, because obviously he's in a tough position, obviously fighting Pyotr on short notice, but having a hell of a performance. And then with that, and also, he had lost to Aljamain, but there's a fair bit of time in between that and Aljamain's title, fight and the whole Oscar performance, or whatever you want to call it, right? A lot's happened since then. And he had to fight with TJ, which was a banger, which I thought he won, and TJ's obviously fighting for the title. The thing is, he put himself almost in a position where he locked himself out. But if he could string them together here, stop some of these young guns on the way up, then, it gets a little interesting. I mean, shit, dude, you're telling me Chito Vera versus Corey Sandhagen doesn't sound like violence at its finest?
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I was going to bring up later, is that's the fight that Corey wants. Chito said that he's down for it as well. That fight makes a lot of sense, man. Especially given the state of the division right now. Obviously, next month we got the big title fight between Aljo and TJ. And then we have Petr Yan and O'Malley. But outside of that, there's not really...
there's a lot riding on those two fights, though, depending on the outcomes.
Exactly. But let's say, hypothetically, Aljo wins. and then Petr Yan wins, I don't think they're going to run that trilogy. It'd be a good time to beat Corey Sandhagen or Marlon Chito Vera, is all I'm saying. So yeah, man, and there's a couple of outcomes that are like that. So, remains to be seen, but yeah, man, as far as that fight between Sandhagen and Chito goes, that's going to be an absolute banger. I mean, as of right now, I mean, who are you leaning towards in that matchup? So I think that's about as 50-50 as it gets, in my opinion, especially if it's 5 rounds.
I think Sandhagen. I mean, obviously with not breaking it too much down. I mean, we know Chito can be. He has an interesting pace where you would call him slow, but if you want, it's more of a steady build up, which is kind of like Piotr's, but it's different. It's not the same. He's a guy who's willing to take his time to get to finish. Mm-hmm. And then Corey, who I wouldn't say struggles to finish, he just, because of his frame, he doesn't generate the same amount of power, but his advantage comes in his size, and he can release volume in his technique. That's why he uses the elbows. That's why he uses the knees right up the middle, because he knows if he's going to knock a guy out, it's going to be with head kicks, knees, body shots, and then the ground, submissions as well.
Yeah. I mean, don't want to get too much into it right now, like you said, but I'd probably lean Sandhagen in that matchup, but if it's 5 rounds, dude, it is very possible for Chito to go ahead and pull off the win.
Hey, man, but Josh, I mean, you got to think about it, too. Last time we saw Corey Sandhagen go 5 rounds, it was on short notice against Petr Yan, and he put on a pretty good fucking performance without a long fight, Kev.
No, I agree, but I just think as Chito Vera is essentially the ultimate 5-round fighter. I've never seen anybody who comes on better in the championship rounds.
No, it's got he's built for it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So, if it's 3 rounds, I'd absolutely say Sandhagen. But if it's 5 rounds, man, I mean, shit, who knows? It'd be very interesting. But yeah, man, Corey getting it. This is kind of like the main event of UFC Vegas 60. It is one of the rare fights where I felt like both guys came out looking better. Like there was not, even though like on, the official result is Song Yadong lost, I don't feel like that at all. I thought Corey looked great. I thought Song looked great. Even in defeat, I feel like his stock only rose. I mean, what do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. I mean, it's the age, man. That age is such a big thing. Because if Song was 29, 28, I mean, obviously still young, but we'd be like, it's, he should have, whatever it may be, right? But he's what, like 26, 24, something like that?
Yeah, 24, I believe.
This guy has another 12 years in this division, which is scary if he's this good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he has a lot of time. And the crazy thing is he appears to be getting really good really fast. So probably the best time for Corey Sandhagen to fight him. But yeah, man, very pumped for both these guys in the future. But overall, man, very solid card. Let's go ahead and move down to the co-main event. This fight was very, very interesting. Specifically in terms of Gennadiy Golovkin, Gregory Rodriguez, 2 guys that are at middleweight that are trying to kind of break, maybe not in the top 15, but show that even though they are kind of around the age of 30, guess what? They're going to have a second prime. You hear me, Angel? Gennadiy looked like that, man. And through 1 round, he looked phenomenal. And Gregory Rodriguez had an insane cut. And like I said, the doctor said fucking just bleed tonight. Not tonight. Well, on that night, I guess I should say. But, dude, in the second round, Gregory Rodriguez comes back from behind and gets a knockout himself, dude. Insane fight. Ended up being the fight of the night. They both got $50K.
They deserve it.
One? Yeah.
Fucking banger. I mean, I said it, man. It was an end and a finish. And weirdly enough, Josh, this is another one where I don't think Gennadiy lost stock. Because he showed that he could be an exciting fighter. He got back up to his feet multiple times. He hurt his opponent, and then obviously his opponent looked good too because he got to come back from behind and win. I mean, if you're watching that, you're like, I want to see that guy fight again, and I want to see that guy fight again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And both these guys, we knew going in that both these guys come to bang and they both put on fun fights, especially Gennadiy. I mean, I've talked before about that guy, and I could not be happier for him to have his current UFC run. Obviously, he did come up short here, but dude, both these guys, very entertaining. And at middleweight, I mean, middleweight's kind of a weird division right now. I mean, obviously we got Izzy, got to be fighting Alex Bahia, but outside of that division is entirely open.
Yeah.
So
just needs one guy to run through it, right?
Exactly. I'm not saying that guy will be Gregory Rodriguez or Gennadiy Golovkin, but they both looked really good last Saturday. So very impressed by both guys in that one. Super fun fight. As far as the rest of the card goes, man, not in terms of names, not a whole bunch of huge names on here. In terms of fights, man, a lot of fun fights that happen on this card. So which ones are you most looking forward to talking about?
Oh man, Anthony Hernandez, dude. Ever since submitting, oh my god, Rodolfo Vieira, he's just got that jiu-jitsu bug in him, man. He came back and get an arm triangle choke on his last opponent here. Wow. I mean, there was something about that. It was like that's cool to see, man. You know, and his little story of him being, a tubby kid, losing all his weight, fighting and fighting himself here. It's just awesome, man. And now he has 3 in a row. He had like 4 fights in a row get canceled. I mean, we hadn't seen him since the start of last year, back in February. It was February 13th. I'm looking at it right now. And he's fought twice this year. Feels good to see him back, man. He's a fun and exciting guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. He's really gonna, I mean, like you said, ever since he submitted Rodolfo Vieira, he's just come on, dude. This is a kid that is only 28. We gotta remember that. He has shown a lot of potential, and he's another guy like we just talked about. Song Yadong, obviously, 4 years older, but Fluffy's coming on, and he's getting good really fast, dude. Obviously, he came into the UFC, he knocked out Jordan Wright, and he had mixed success. He lost to Marcus Perez and Kevin Holland, but he's won 3 in a row, and he's looked very, very good in those fights. So, very impressed by him, and especially submitting Marc-Andre Barrios, who's a good guy in his own right. So, excellent win by him. Want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to Andre Fili. This kid, you really, I say kid, he's 32 now, which is kind of crazy to think about. He's been around in the game. He's been in the UFC for nearly a decade. And he's still putting on incredible fights. I don't understand how that fight was a split decision. His fight with Bill Algeo, I thought it clearly won. What do you think about that one? I saw Andre Fili going off about that decision in the post-fight press conference.
I mean, he won that fight, man. Like I tell you, it sounds really shitty, right? Because you never want it to have, you never want to be in that scenario where obviously it's close, because it should be clear who won, right? For the most part, obviously there's clear but close fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the end of the day, man, just be happy you got the win, because you got it, man. Obviously, it sucks that you could have been there could have been a world where you don't get your money, but be glad you don't live in that world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely be outspoken for the principle,
Yeah, and thankfully this one did not go the wrong way. I'm very happy to see Andre Fili get that hard-earned win, but dude, there's got to be some sort of accountability, man. I mean, it is crazy we have this conversation like every single week, whether it's a bad call or a split decision that should have just been unanimous. I feel like we have this conversation every single fucking week. But regardless, man, at least Andre Fili got the win, and Bill Algeo, he's kind of emerging like, I mean, if you look at his run in the UFC, and he's only been in the UFC for roughly, 2 years now, 3 if you want to count his fight in the Contender Series. Really, this is a guy that's had all bangers. So, I'm happy to see him still staying in the UFC. I mean, putting up a fight against Andre Fili, who's very good in his own right. No shame in losing that one. So, both those two guys super entertaining. I was a little bit surprised that they did not end up. How can I put this? Going into this one, I thought for sure this is an instant fight of the night, but ended up being Rodriguez and Njokuani. But still, they put on a really good fight, Fili and Algeo, so it is what it is. Joseph Pfeiffer, we kind of knew about this kid. It's like a huge prospect. I believe he was the biggest favorite on the card. And he goes in there and shows why he was such a huge favorite. He knocks Alan Obdomsky. Obdomsky? He's Macedonian, I don't know. He gets knocked out. Look, dude, this kid looks like the real fucking deal, man. What did you think about his performance? And afterwards, he made some headlines because he decided to hit back at a lot of UFC fighter pay stuff. He said that Dana put him up in a house for a year, let him train, and talked about that sort of stuff. He kind of hit back at the idea that UFC fighters aren't paid well. So what do you think about his performance and also his subsequent comments? I
mean, I would say this. Dana did that because he liked him, and he likes the way he fights, I'm sure if he didn't like him, or Dennis didn't like him, but just he was another name on the roster, I don't think he'd do all that for him. He was a big fan. Yeah, I mean, he was a big fan of him on the Contender Series. He liked the way he fought. He liked the style. He even said, he's like, you saw all the edits that they had I think it was leading into that fight. They had like a little pre-edit thing, like of Dana being like, find someone like Joe Pfeiffer, be like Joe Pfeiffer. Everybody should strive to be like, I don't know if he saw it. It was like, that's interesting that they did this for a guy who is having his, I think, technically debut into promotion,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I think that's why I thought that was kind of dumb that he made those comments. I'm like, dude, he just because Dana likes you does not mean that that's indicative of the whole fighter pay situation at the moment. Like, we've never once heard. I mean, granted, Dana likes this kid, but that is far from the norm. So,
and look,
yeah.
we do got to give credit to Dana every now and then because he will, treat certain guys like our boy Chris Barnett who miss weight. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And then after, the loss of his loved one, he helped them out,
Mm-hmm.
financially, which they don't have to do at all, realistically, right?
Yeah.
But they did for him. And that's very, that's very caring.
That is. And I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing they took care of him.
I mean, let's be honest,
that's
a Giga Chad moment, Like,
yeah, I'm just saying they should take care of more fighters. I don't have a problem that they took care of him, but yeah, man, I thought it was kind of a little bit tone deaf to make those comments. But as far as a fighter and his performance,
I was gonna make a very insensitive joke. I'll tell you afterwards.
Type it in the chat.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, anyways, so Joe Pfeiffer, dude, as far as performance goes, about as appropriate as he gets. First round knockout. Alan Dodowski, that's it for his UFC run, 0-4. So that's tough, man. But yeah. Anyway, as far as the rest of the card goes, man, our boy Tanner Boser coming up short via split decision. He
there was a sick little sequence there at the end by him. Like, he's a dog, man.
Yeah, he is. He is a dog, and dude, he came in shredded for this fight. He looked like he had some fucking. Dude was like fucking peeled out of his fucking tree, my
dude,
guy.
He's making that UFC money now, dude. He knows he has to take care of his body.
Yeah, and I hope that's 3 of his last 4, so I hope they're taking care of him. I hope that Dana puts him up in a house or something, because I don't want to see him leave the UFC. You know what I mean?
He's entered when he fought like every month there for like a year ago for them, dude.
Yeah, I remember he fought. Yeah, I looked it up right now. He had 3 fights in like 5 months.
Yeah,
knocked out Felipe Wins, knocked out Rafael Persosa, and then lost Arlovsky.
Nevertheless, at heavyweight, which I mean, on heavyweight you can do that, but you know what I mean. Still, like with the risk.
Yeah, true. So, but I do hope that he can take care of him. I hope he doesn't, And this is a close fight too. So, and then obviously Rodrigo Nascimento got on the mic and asked for Canelo tickets, which was pretty funny.
I wonder
a lot of people didn't like it, but I was like, I mean, come on. I'm pretty sure the guy was just making a joke. But regardless, Damon Jackson knocked out Pat Sabatini on the undercard.
This would surprise me, dude.
Yeah. But I was surprised at how easy it was, honestly.
No, but you know something you learn, Josh? You never doubt a man when he's hurt.
Right?
That's the one thing I've learned.
I'm sure not to doubt Damon Jackson. This motherfucker's like won 5 of his last 6 in the UFC. His only loss is to Ilia Topuria. So this dude's a bad man,
Dude, no, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, if I would have picked a fight to bet on, it probably would have been like that. I wasn't like, if I was on the undercard or whatever, I would have been like, oh, dude, I would definitely put money down on him. Yeah, I did not expect him to get knocked out like that. But I mean, it was the way it happened and the sequence. I mean, it made sense. He got to get caught up a little bit there, but the guy threw up the kick. You got to be prepared at all times, man. I mean, that's just how it goes. It was just a sick finish, and credit to him because, I think he had lost to one before, right?
Who? Damon Jackson?
Yeah.
No. He's won 4 in a row, my guy.
Oh, what? Damn it. Oh, yeah. He beat Daniel Argueta. I forgot. Daniel Argueta came on short notice.
Yep.
Didn't cut weight down to 135. Instead, fought at 145. Which, I mean, give Daniel some credit. He did some work there, but
he did. But yeah, man, Damon Jackson 4 in a row. Okay. So I love to see that, man. He kind of emerging. Oh, dude, absolutely. I mean, I don't see how you can't give him a ranked opponent next, honestly. But
it's in Barbosa?
Isn't Barbosa? Who is Barbosa fighting next? I know that he already has a fight.
Oh, did he get scheduled? Oh, man.
Yeah, he is going to be fighting Ilia Topuria.
Next got announced too long ago.
Yeah, next month, so that'll be fun. But yeah, man, I do, regardless of Edson, I do think that he deserves a ranked opponent next. But yeah, man, as far as the card goes, Kevin Giles picked up a win over Luis Cosi. A little bit disappointed in that kid, honestly. I remember when he debuted in the UFC, and I'm pretty sure he actually came off the Contender Series. And thinking like, you know what, this kid's got some potential, you know? He's lost 2 in a row, and one of those was a banger against Sasha Paletnikov, but that was a really bad upset loss, and they lost to Kevin Giles. We'll see what happens with him next, but anyways. Loma Lokenbeat defeating short notice replacement Dean Skolnick. Afterwards, Loma getting on the in the post-fight interview talking about how she was suicidal after her last fight, how she's dealt with a lot of stuff. Man, if there's a fighter to root for in terms of women's MMA, in my opinion, it's Loma Lokenbeat. She has not had a boring fight since coming to the UFC in 2019. Super entertaining fighter. I hope that she keeps like her mental state well. Still only 26 years young.
That's scary, man.
Yeah, so it's very young. She won 3 of her last 4, too, with that only loss being to Lupita Godinez. So, very interesting fighter at 115. Troy Ogden defeating Dana Zuber. Zellhuber. I'm not sure you pronounce how you pronounce it. Zellhuber. Thank you.
He got reality checked.
Yeah, he did.
Which is perfectly fine for a kid for being 23 years old and being undefeated. I mean, I think if anything, it's a great thing to happen.
I didn't think he looked bad either. I just thought
that's the thing. It was just like, hey, bro, you're good. You just need some work, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? He was tough. He was fine. He was coming forward the whole time. He was just getting punched on the other end.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of looking good but needing work, my girl Maria Agapova.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta give credit to Jillian Robertson, though, dude.
No, they were trying to fucking kill each other. In that first round, when Maria Agapova was dropping those fucking elbows, but then in round 2, when Jillian Robertson comes back and nearly chokes her to death, I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, it's just...
I mean, it was a fun fight, man. I mean, credit to her. I mean, she got the submission.
She did. And, you know, I knew going into this one, it was going to be a tough night for Maria Agapova. Not only is it a bad stylistic matchup, I was on an interview with her where she was talking about how she needs to fight because she has a really bad injury, but she can't get surgery on it because she hasn't, fought in a while, so she needs to get money to have surgery, but she's probably going to lose. So, yeah, it was a tough night for her. I don't think she looked bad. I mean, I still think she has a lot of potential, but she really has to work on her grappling to remain a contender. But yeah, I think she'll be fine down the line. She's still only 25 years old. Jillian Robertson is also a deceptively old 27-year-old. I thought she's been in the UFC for like years. She's only 27, so
she's been in the UFC for a while though. Like how old was she when she initially?
Yeah, she debuted in 2017, so she would have been 22 years old.
Wow,
crazy. But
I mean, John Jones was what, 19, 20?
I think he was 20 or 21.
He's real young.
Yeah, champ at 23 though.
He's a kid.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Yeah, man. Overall, solid card. Oh, forgot to highlight one last one. Nicholas Mata knocking out Cameron Van Camp. Great performance by him.
Nice little comeback by him after his loss against what was it, Jim Miller?
I believe so. Yeah. Great performance by him. Overall, man. Yeah, solid fight night card. UFC is actually off this week. They're not going to be back until October 1st. That is another Apex card. Headlining that one is Mackenzie Dern, Yan Xiaonan, and then the co-main event, I know we talked about it, I think last week, Sadiq Youssef is going to be fighting on that card against short notice replacement Don Shyness, who I believe is a former CFFC guy.
Yep, something like that.
Excuse me, Caged, he fought on Looking for a Fight. He also fought in Bellator and Caged Titans. Fun fact, he had a draw with Chris Mutino in his amateur career. So
shout out Chris Mutino.
Shout out Chris Mutino. But yeah, man. So yeah, UC's gonna be off for this week, but it's all good, Angel. It's all good.
Isn't that sad though? You know,
that the UC's off.
It's always sad. You know, it's always like, dang, they're gone.
It sometimes I feel like, oh man, it would be nice to have a break, and then when there's no UFC, I'm like, fuck.
But then when it comes back, you know.
Yeah, and the worst part is that there's no big. I mean, I guess there is some boxing this weekend. And there is some MMA, but like the Bellator card's happening Friday. Like it's not a whole lot this weekend on Saturday. I mean, so it is what it is. But as far as the Bellator card going down on Friday, man, Bellator 285, also known as Bellator Dublin, going down from the 3 Arena in Dublin, Ireland. Dude, this card has some fucking names on it, man. I'm very excited for this event. So I guess we'll just go ahead and start with the main event. Peter Queally taking on Benson Henderson in the 5-round headliner. Both of these guys near the top of the Bellator lightweight division. Peter Queally has been out of action since his title shot against Patricky Fellier last November. Came up short via TKO in the second round. But still, he did have one of the greatest entrances of all time before that fight. So I'd say it evens out, you know, when he came out to Zombie. So yeah, now he's returning back home to Ireland once again, taking on former UFC and WC champion and former Bellator title challenger Benson Henderson. It looked like Benson's career was, it looked like it was going kind of down, honestly, man. There's no easy way to put it. He had lost 3 in a row. He got knocked out by Michael Chandler. I mean, he put him out, man. And for Benson, that's pretty rare to see. Then he got dominated by Jason Jackson. Did have a really fun fight against Britt Pimmons, but came up short. And then he's facing, I believe, I don't know if he's undefeated at the time. He might have had 1 loss, but Islam Mamedov, and he just put on a performance of the ages. Came back, upset loss, and he ends up winning that one by decision. Now, trying to get back to that title shot. Very interesting fight here. Number 3 taking on number 5. What do you think about this one, man? I think it's going to be a very fun fight on Friday.
A banger, honestly, in Ireland. Obviously, for Peter, obviously great for him, right? Obviously in front of the home country. We know how that crowd gets. They love him. And he's just about to put on a banger. For Benson, though, I'm curious to see him, man. Age is a factor at this point, right? Like, every fight, that's something you got to go into. He's like, he's sticking in it, but he's slowed down a bit. But how much is it going to be in the next one? In the next one. And the one after that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? That's the thing. At 38 years old and soon to be 39, I mean, time is of the essence. And he's fighting a 30-year-old kid who's in his physical prime, has had some good performances. Obviously, the Pitbull loss wasn't too long ago. It was almost a year ago. 2 months to go. But we're here now, back in Ireland. For Peter, it's a good time to get redemption, get back on track, find himself in that title position. For Benson Henderson, though, dude, like you said, you kind of laid it out, how the romance been going, kind of how he's ended up here, the impressive win. Man, I think it's Benson Henderson's time, man. I think he's gonna come out here, shock Dublin, shock them. He's gonna shock the crowd. I don't think he's not gonna shock the world. But the people are obviously there to support his the Irish counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
And Benson's gonna come out here, and I think he's gonna have a heck of a performance, man. I think he's actually gonna make a statement this time.
You think he's going to pick up the win? You think he gets it done via finish, Angel?
You know something? I see it finish, Josh.
Shit.
I think I had a dream. Round 2. No, I was kidding.
Nice. Yeah, man. I'm in agreement with you, actually. I think Benson Henderson can come out here. I think he's going to make a statement, man. It looks like that last fight kind of re-energized him, honestly. Like, he was facing this young lion who, like I said, I don't remember if he was undefeated or if he had 1 loss. But regardless, I know Benson was a huge underdog. And he goes out there and shocks him. And he was like, you know what, man, I might head to Eagle FC next. Like, he was making some jokes. It seemed like he was in a great mood. But you haven't seen out of Benson in a long time. I mean, he hadn't won a fight since December 2019. I think he's going to come out here and do a similar thing. I don't know the betting line on this one. I'm sure it's close. I think Benson's going to get the win. It's not really a shot at Peter Queally. I think Peter Queally kind of lucked out in a way, getting that doctor stoppage win against Patricky. If I remember correctly, he was down on the scorecard going into that one too. So yeah, I mean, I like Peter Queally as like an action fighter, but I don't think he's at the top of this Bellator division. I think he's kind of overranked due to that doctor stoppage win back in May of 2021. So yeah, man, I think he's going to go ahead and Benson's going to get the win here. Might even be by stoppage. But regardless, I know that he's going to make a statement for sure. And maybe even get himself into a title shot. I mean, shit, dude, weird things have happened. So it's crazy to think about because he's lost, 3 of his last 4, and he's only, he's looked rough. Still ranked number 3. So, yeah, man, he's close. Very, very close. But in terms of Bellator, man, the main and the co-main here are probably the best that they've done in a long time. Like, Bellator, they have that problem where, sometimes they'll have, a good fight, or they'll have a good overall card, but it feels like there's always like some sort of like massive drop off somewhere in the card. This card does not really have that, especially on the main card, but the main and the co-main event, there's no drop off whatsoever. In fact, the co-main event could arguably even like fucking main event the card. Yoel Romero taking on Melvin Manhoff at 205 pounds. And guess what? It is going to be the last fight of Melvin Manhoff's career.
What a fucking way to go out, dude.
Exactly. 46 years young, ranked number 9 in the Bellator light heavyweight division. He has not fought since that TKO loss to Corey Anderson when he helped welcome Corey Anderson to Bellator back in 2020. He's been out of action since then. Obviously, he went ahead and had to take some time off after he beat up a couple of guys that tried to rob his house back earlier this year. Because he was supposed to fight in May, but then he went ahead and apprehended 3 burglars and broke his hand in the process. He was trying to rob his house. So, yeah, badass guy. But as far as his last fight goes, man, Melvin Manhoff is a legend. One of the most entertaining fighters I feel pretty comfortable saying in MMA history. I've never seen him in a boring fight. Minus the Rafael Carvalho fight back in 2016, which is still the worst decision I've ever seen. But yeah, man, very excited for this one. Yoel said he's gonna win this fight, move down to 185, win the belt there, move up to 205, and win the belt there.
I thought he was talking about moving up to heavyweight. Whoa, what?
Before he can do all that, Angel, he has to beat Melvin Manhoff in his final fight. Do you think he gets it done?
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Dude, Yoel said he's gonna move back down to 185.
Yeah, he laid out his plan last week, which I covered on bjpen.com. bjpen.com. Feel free to go ahead and go there.
Can I get that one more time, Josh? I don't think I caught it.
It was bjpen.com, the greatest MMA site on the planet. We got a great team there. Cole Shelton doing our podcast, just graph every single week. Incredible podcast. We also have great content on the YouTube channel, but especially on our website. We have tons of great writers. We just added my boy Zane Bond to the team. Great guy. And, yeah, man.
Free shoutouts, Josh? Okay, I'll let it slide.
I'm just plugging the greatest MMA
I'm gonna have to, check in with the Courtside Soundoff PR team about that one, but it's okay.
Yeah,
if it's a friend, it's understandable.
Friend of the show, Zane. But, yeah, man, we have a great staff. Anyways. I went and reported that he did an interview where he went and talked with us. He's like, yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to beat Melvin, and I'm going to move down to 185 and win the title there, and I'm going to become double champ at 205. So that's his plan.
If Yoel would have said this maybe 5 years ago, I could have believed it,
Regardless, that's a bold-ass plan to be saying that, to be 45 years old. So, yeah, I mean, as far as that plan goes, I don't know about all that jazz.
I mean, I will say this, Josh, though. Nemkov, I'm just saying because Nemkov's technically the champ right now. Nemkov versus Yoel, holy fuck.
even fucking Corey Anderson versus Yoel.
That's a banger, too.
It is not out of the possibility that, I mean, you said that Nemkov's champ for now. I could absolutely see Nemkov coming back and beating Corey. I mean,
yes. Especially now after actually fighting him.
Yeah, people forget. I mean, that fight, Corey Anderson was coming on, down the stretch, but, he wasn't looking bad or anything. He was winning the early parts of that fight, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Very, very excited for this fight. As far as, I guess I didn't get my prediction. I do think that,
Yoel's gonna knock him the fuck out. Just say it, Josh. I mean, it's okay.
I don't know if Yoel's gonna knock him out.
You don't think Yoel can knock him out?
No, I'm just saying I don't know that he will. I do think he'll beat him, though, for sure.
So you think he'll go to distance, though?
Yeah, fuck it. I'll say Yoel by finish too. How about that?
Oh,
but not in the same way. I think
it's submission. It's okay, Josh.
I think he's gonna take him down. Probably wear him out. Maybe TKO in the third.
Okay.
I don't think he's gonna knock him out on the feet. Because I think Yoel is he's a smart guy. I don't think he's gonna try and stand with him. Honestly, if there's a shot Melvin has to win this, it's on the feet. And I think
what if Yoel gets knocked out?
Dude, Melvin could knock out anybody. That's the thing, though. That's why he's such a fun fighter and why he's
Imagine.
It's a damn shame.
I'm gonna have to check the betting odds afterwards on this.
It's not impossible for him to do it. He could absolutely do it. So, yeah, man. But I am gonna go ahead and take Yoel probably by late stoppage, maybe decision. But regardless, I do think he gets the win. In terms of the rest of the card, man, some good names on here, some very good fights. Which ones are you most looking forward to?
Oh man, I gotta start with a guy who probably should have been in the 205 tournament when they were having a Carl Robertson, man. He's just that fucking guy. Dude, his fight with Yax last year, banger.
Yeah.
So you got Carl Moore, which 9-2 from Ireland. I mean, they always try to do this with, like you said, they bring in guys from around the promotion. I'm curious to see how that goes. And fun fact, Carl Moore fought Paul Craig. I just clicked on his record. He fought Paul Craig in 2015.
Really?
Yeah, he got submitted.
I had no idea. That makes sense, though.
Right? But yeah, Carl Robertson, I think at 205 in Bellator, he's probably the most interesting guy.
I agree. And
I think he's the biggest question mark. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. I'm shocked that he was not put into the tournament.
He didn't want to step in on short notice against Nemkov.
Yeah, I mean, still surprising though, but that he was in there to begin with. But yeah, regardless, yeah, man, that is an excellent fight, and he's an excellent fighter. So I'm glad you pointed that one out. I'm surprised he's on the undercard, honestly, but
that was a weird one to me.
Yeah, I mean, but I think Bellator does this a lot, where like they've had some bigger names on the undercard. Maybe they just try and get them more attention, but still a little bit bizarre. That's probably like one of the best fights in the card, but regardless. Mads Burnell is going to be back against Pedro Carvalho. That should be very, very fun. Mads Burnell, obviously coming off that loss to Adam Borch, but besides that, he was undefeated in the Bellator cage. Obviously a former Cage Warriors champion, former UFC veteran, who actually did not have that bad of a run there. He went 1-2, but the losses were to Arnold Allen and Michael Pizarres. I don't know, the fucking tractor. You know what I mean? The dude was 5'6" and fighting 185 and doing a damn good job. So yeah, man, very excited to see Mads Burnell back. Leah McCourt, who looked like she was going to be like a potential, like the next title challenger, until she lost to Sinead Kavanaugh earlier this year. She's going to be back against Silva. In a fight on the main card. Brett Johns is going to be on the undercard on the prelims. Interesting location for there.
Well, he lost his opponent, James Gallagher. Gallagher withdrew.
Yeah, true. Which is a shame, because that's probably, like, that was a fucking great fight.
That was going to be a banger.
Yeah, and I feel like James Gallagher has had some bad luck with injuries lately. I feel like he's had to pull out of a couple of fights recently.
That's Kansas City's very own James Gallagher.
Yeah, exactly. KC's own James Gallagher, so... yeah, man, tough luck for him, but I am excited to see Brett Johns back in this one. And lastly, last fight I want to go and highlight, Georgi Karaharian taking on Kane Musa. Georgi Karaharian is kind of like, how can I put it? I can't think of like a UFC comparison for him.
Oh, dude, we talked about him, the boxer from the Canelo card. Oh my God, why am I?
Gabe Rosado?
Gabe Rosado.
Yeah. I feel like that's a great comparison. He's a guy that'll fight anybody, any given night, anytime. Doesn't matter if it's lightweight, featherweight. I'm pretty sure he's even fought at bantamweight in the past, or catchweight shit. Like, he has fought everywhere. He is slowing down, which is, it's tough to see, but this guy's 37. He's had 46 fights. It makes sense to be slowing down. It still sucks, but, and especially his last two fights, he's looked really, really slow. Against Adam Piccolotti and Saul Rogers. So he's taking a bit of a step back. He's going to be fighting Kane Musa on one of the first fights on the card. According to Wiki, it's the third fight on the card. And Kane Musa, if you're not aware of him, don't blame you. He's 13-4. He's fought in Bellator in the past, but hasn't fought any real big names. So this is ultimately his chance to kind of move up to the top of the division. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, man, I am happy to see Georgi Karaharian back, though. I hope he gets at least one more before retirement. But yeah, man. Any other fights you want to talk about before we move on?
One more, man. I got to shout him out just because he came in on short notice against Logan Storley. Dante Shiro. He won earlier this year. Look, did he get controlled by Logan? Yes, but Logan did struggle, which is something very important because Logan's been winning titles at wrestling since he was a middle schooler at a high school level. So it's impressive that he was able to do what he could against him on I believe it was short notice. I can't remember if it wasn't. Either way, though, he impressed me just being able to tough it out, go to distance, and not get finished by Logan, and then come back actually this year and get a finish in the third round over his opponent, and then now we're seeing him here again in Ireland. So I hope I see another great performance out of Dante Shira.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you went and highlighted that fight. Because, I mean, he gave him a really good fight, dude. Like, I remember being surprised at the time and thinking, like, oh, shit, maybe that's just it was a bad matchup, or maybe I'm just not, maybe Logan was not as good as I thought, but, you know, shit, I guess, you know, John Teixeira is actually the real deal. So, yeah, and he's opening up the card, interestingly enough. So, according to Wiki, which, again, you know, can't really be sure about Wiki in terms of, like, fight order and shit, especially Bellator. I feel like Bellator has, like, 17 fights every single time they have a fucking card. But regardless, yeah, man, that's all we got to really talk about on that one. Bellator is going to be back on October 1st. They're actually having, like, a relatively quick turnaround for them. And that's a stacked card, dude.
What's the main for that?
Patricio Pitbull versus Adam Borch, co-main event, AJ McKee, Spike Carlisle.
Wow.
Aaron Pico versus Jeremy Kennedy's also on the card, so, and then Juan Archuleta versus Enrico Barzola.
That's kind of a stacked main card for Bellator.
It is, and then also on the undercard, they also got a couple of guys. J.J. Wilson's going to be back versus Vladimir Tokov. Lance Gibson Jr. is going to be fighting on that one. Hey. So, yeah, a lot of great names.
That's in the Giga Chad moment, Josh. Max Roshkov.
Oh, yeah, dude. I didn't even know. Yeah, Max Groshov's going to be back. That kid, man, I'm so happy to see that he's turned his career around. I thought it was so fudd up that he got cut from the UFC. He took that fight on like a week's notice. Gave him, honestly, a really good fight. People forget that fight against, I can't remember his name, but it was tied 1-1 going into the third.
It was Austin Hubbard.
Yeah, Austin Hubbard. Took that fight on like a week's notice. And just, yeah, I thought that was pretty fucked up that he got cut after that one. But I was happy to see him turn his career around in Cage Warriors and now in Bellator. So, yeah, man.
Let's see the run. Let's see the run, baby.
Exactly. Let's see the run, man. Let's see the run. Should be fun. So, anyways. Yeah, that's all we got in terms of fighting for this week. But we got some other fights to go over. Not MMA, but boxing. Because last Saturday night, from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, it was time for the trilogy. Canelo Alvarez taking on a 40-year-old Gennadiy Golovkin. And, you know, Angel, we were kind of like lukewarm on the fight last week. Especially compared to like most people that I've seen. A lot of people were like hyped for this one. And I was like, man, have they not seen Gennadiy fight in a minute, man? Because as much as I love Gennadiy Golovkin, he is 40 years old. His last two fights taken a lot of damage against, especially against Sergey Derevchenko and Hirota Murata. He took a lot of damage. He really slowed down in that one. And in the end, dude, we were not very hyped for this one, and most people were. It ended up kind of reflecting well on us. So we knew what was going to happen here. In the end, it ends up being Canelo. It's a relatively easy unanimous decision. Gennadiy Golovkin didn't really even, we knew he's always been a slow starter his entire career, but he did not start fighting really until round 7. So,
let's be honest, it was really like round 9.
Yeah, but at least near the end of round 7, he started coming on. I thought he actually had a relatively good first round as well, but.
There was a round where he teed off. Was that round 9?
Round 9, yeah.
He really teed off. It was like, oh.
You're like, oh shit, he might come from behind. But yeah, man, in the end, Canelo ends up getting the win. The scorecards ended up being a lot closer than what most people had. It ended up being 115, 113, 115, 113, and 116, 112. As far as the fight went, what did you think, and how did you score it? Because I think most people had the fight a lot, they did not have it nearly as close as the judges did on Saturday. So what did you think?
Look, this is the perfect example of a match where one guy is in his prime currently, and he's peaking. He's peaking so hard, peaking to the max. He's at the pinnacle. He's on top of Mount Everest, and the other guy is exiting his prime. Or he's exiting in general his career to an extent, and it's not like that Gennadi's not interested in competing anymore. He's not willing to box anymore, or not in love with it anymore. Because clearly, he's still doing it. He wants to fight against the best competition. He wants to be involved in title matches. He wants to be in front of the crowd and all that. But his body is preventing him from being able to be as best as he can. And it's not because he's damaged. He's not damaged goods or anything. But it's simply because he's old. And it happens. Time catches up to you. It's that simple. Time catches up to everybody. And time has caught up to Gennadiy Golovkin. And it showed in that match, man. Because it took him having to open up and take risk in the 9th to get anything going. And look, it's going to sound very, obviously it's easy to say in hindsight, obviously when you're fighting in front of a guy like Canelo Alvarez, But I do really wish he would have opened up and taken the risks. There was nothing to lose at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, I think it's a combination of things. I wish he would have taken more of a risk, but at the same time, I think he was aware that the only way he was going to end up winning that fight was if Canelo gassed out. And Canelo did, man. I think I was surprised. In the B-ball fight, he also gassed out, but it was worse there, I should also say. But I thought it was like, it was probably because, the weight. You know what I mean? Him fighting up at 175 probably carried more mass. 168, dude. I was surprised to see that he gassed out. Granted, it wasn't as bad as the B-ball fight, but I think,
and it was his return to 168 too.
Huh?
And I mean, it was the return to 168 as well.
That is true. They have to cut that weight again, but, yeah, man. I thought, in terms of like Gennadiy, I feel like most people I feel like they haven't watched him in a while, man. Because Gennadiy Golovkin being slow and old is not a new thing. I mean, against Hirota Murata, he was supposed to, obviously, but we kind of heading into that one, most people thought he would just destroy him, but dude, he took a lot of damage against Murata. He didn't even start fighting until round 5 in that one either. So it's like, what do you think was going to happen against Canelo Alvarez, man? Yeah, I mean, I saw some people were shitting on the fight, saying like, this fight sucked. Like, the fight, I didn't think the fight was bad, honestly. I just thought it was kind of like, if you're, depending on what your expectations were, especially considering the last 2 fights are bangers, but, I mean, I don't know, man. It was just kind of disappointing. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want this fight to happen, because it's like, we didn't even get to see Gennadiy fight Canelo in his prime. Gennadiy was already past his prime when they fought the first time. He was 36. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. It was just it's kind of shitty. But I am glad that Gennadiy got paid. He got paid $20 million for this one.
Not bad, right?
Not bad. Not a bad night at the office. He ended up getting, the rounds that he should have got from the first fight in this one as well. So, yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people were complaining about the judging. I mean, these were obviously incorrect scorecards. I think I gave Gennadiy 4 rounds, and I was being relatively generous with that. If you how many did you give him again? I don't know if you, did you say how many rounds you gave him?
No, I didn't keep a scorecard.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But, yeah, man, I think anything probably more than 4 is generous. But at the same time, it's like.
Also, that one went down late as fuck too, didn't it?
Yeah, it ended up happening around 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, which I was kind of fucking tired of. I was like, man, dude, I already went through this with Gibb and McRoom, dude. I'm gonna have to go through it with Canelo and Gennadiy, and I was going through it.
Yeah.
I watched it pass the fuck out, dude.
I don't blame you.
You know me, I love watching post-fight interview, all that. No, I was out.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure, but. Yeah, man, I mean, in terms of judging, people complain about the judges, but look, I'm not gonna cry for Canelo Alvarez in this trilogy when discussing judging, dude. At least he got the win he deserved, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Gennadiy did not get that win.
Could you imagine Gennadiy wins on the cards?
I wouldn't give a fuck. I would literally not.
Unjustifiably.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the first fight is legitimately, I mean, look, dude, I love boxing, but that shit was rigged. Fucking Adley Bird had her scorecard filled out before the fight started. It's literally, you know what I mean? That fight just makes me so angry. And especially after we watched it, last week for preparation for, the preview of the fight. I was like, Jesus Christ, it's still as bad. It wasn't, people are gonna alter this trilogy over time because Canelo won the final 2 fights or whatever. But it's he deserved 1 win in the trilogy, so, regardless.
That's how it goes.
That's one of the reasons I was not excited for this fight. But regardless, Canelo did get the win. He deserved the win. He ended up winning via decision.
I mean, I saw a lot of people were clouding. They're like, dude, he beat up an aged shit 40-year-old man. I'm like, I mean, yeah, but even that 40-year-old man could still kick some fucking ass, let me tell you.
And he's still the unified champion at 160. I think that's important to say as well.
Yeah, so he's still gonna he's gonna still have his mandatories. He's gonna still have his stuff to do. When he decides to do, I feel like if he loses to someone who isn't super high level, or someone who he's I feel like if he was if I'm in my prime, I beat this guy, he'll be he'll take a step back because I don't know, it doesn't seem like he wants to retire yet.
No, I mean, Gennadiy said he doesn't want to, and at 160, I mean,
he's holding it down,
I guess, especially considering he's now a free agent.
Well, yeah, I mean, Charlo could finally find a name.
Yeah, so it kind of makes sense in that way, but. I don't think Gennadiy has much left. You know what I mean? It's kind of, we've seen the diminishing returns for the last few fights.
And that's okay, man.
He's 40, man. But I mean, you know, like I said, I just hope people don't change this, use this trilogy fight as like a reason to like, oh yeah, Canelo was always better than Gennadiy. Like, I've made it clear, like, on the show, like, people might think that I'm biased towards Canelo. I probably am a little bit. But just because, like, man, I mean, as a Gennadiy fan,
the guy's really fucking good, though.
He's really fucking good. I obviously can admit that. But, like, as far as, like, if you get the benefit 10 times out of 10, every single close decision you have in your career, it's like, not even close decisions either, because that first Gennadiy fight wasn't even fucking close, but whatever.
I still got robbed of M'Baku versus Canelo, man.
I don't know why you want to see that fight so bad.
Dude, I mean, he lost to Bivol. It's just interesting to see what would have happened against M'Baku.
I guess so, but I mean, I'd much rather. Okay, so let's talk about Canelo moving forward, right? Because he's going to go ahead and he said he's going to take some time off because he has to heal an injury, and he said that's why he gassed out this fight in the last fight as well.
Watch him come back like a monster, dude. Like, watch him not even be wrong. That's a scary thought.
That will be scary. But he said he's going to take some time off. He said he wants to go for Bivol again.
That's respectable, though, dude.
That is respectable, but I mean,
but there's another Mexican on the line, which people are sleeping on.
David Benavidez.
No.
Who?
Ramirez, who's fighting Bivol.
Oh, shit. No, I thought we were talking about 168. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's going to be an excellent fight as well, but I don't think he's going to be able to get past Bivol.
Dude, that's what bro, if you know, you know. Let me put it like this. Remember this conversation when something goes down the night of. That's all I'm going to say.
You think he's going to win?
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I didn't say that it wasn't possible for him to win. I was just saying, I think Bivol's going to end up beating.
Because it's not the night of. And I don't need to give my pick right now.
All right, well, you can remember this conversation where Bivol fucking tunes him up and make a fucking decision win.
That's what you think.
I think you'd be surprised, Angel. It's going to fuck up.
I think you'd be surprised, Josh. I think when Bivol is on the ground sleeping with ass up, I think you'll be surprised.
Oh yeah, we'll see about that, bud. But
I think, dude, yeah, and you're also gonna be surprised when Charles Oliveira submits Makhachev.
I will be surprised then.
And when Deji sleeps Floyd, you're gonna be even more surprised.
Oh, why'd you gotta bring that up?
And when Jake sleeps Anderson, you'll see, Josh. You'll remember this conversation.
I'm gonna be very surprised.
Oh man.
Anyways, man. Yeah. Canelo, man, he's probably, like I said, gonna fight Bivol next, or I guess the winner of Bivol versus Ramirez. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. I don't think he beats Bivol, and I mean,
he's challenging himself though. You gotta give him credit.
No, and I give him.
No one else is doing what he's doing, and
no, I agree. But at the same time, I think you should also, if you're gonna keep on searching for 175, I think you gotta vacate those 168 belts at some point. I'm just saying. Like, if he's gonna take he's gonna take a year off.
You're gonna ask him.
He's gonna take a year off and then fight Bivol. We're gonna go like a year and a half without a title defense at 168. Especially considering Benavidez is right fucking there. I mean,
they'll strip him. You know those commissions don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't like. I guess it's because I saw. Like, if you see his post-fight interview and his comments about David Benavidez.
I don't know if it was so much about him, but I remember he's like, I don't know, but I know his dad's talking shit.
Yeah, and he said, like, you know, he hasn't really accomplished anything, and he's not a champion. Why should I fight him? And it's like, well, can't be a champion. You have all the belts 168, and you're not fighting him. So it's just,
hey man,
but
a lot of guys start at lower weight classes and get championships in other weight classes.
No, I see what you're saying. But yeah, he did also clarify that because he said that he did not want to fight anybody from Mexico. And somebody asked him about that, like, would you fight Benavidez? And he's like, yeah. I mean, like, he kind of got pissed off about that and kind of trashed Benavidez. So I'm assuming he'd be down to fight him, just not now, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I can't really hate on Canelo not fighting Benavidez because it's like he's going to go fight either Bivol, Ramirez, or, well, I guess technically better be he's going to be fighting Anthony Yard, which is
poor Anthony Yard.
I have zero interest in that one, but yeah, he'll fight one of those four guys next, so that'll be fun. But yeah, man, I think it's probably about time for us to move on to some news. And there was no bigger piece of news from this last week than Jose Aldo, the king of Rio, deciding to retire, man. We kind of knew this was a possibility if he was going to lose to Merab. He lost to Merab in just a very disappointing fight. That is going to end up being his final UFC fight, his final MMA fight. He had one more fight on the deal, and apparently he wanted to go ahead and actually have one more, but I guess his coach went ahead and talked about it like a week or two ago. He's like, yeah, I hope he doesn't. I think it's time for him to call it quits, and he decided to. He ended up actually getting released from the UFC. Jose's always wanted to box or do some, kind of similar to what Mighty Mouse is doing, do some like interesting matchups. And the UFC's always said no. Now he has the possibility to do it if he wants to. As far as the MMA careers goes, it's done, man. Give me your thoughts on Jose Aldo deciding to call it quits. And also, what is your favorite Jose Aldo memory from his long time fighting in the octagon?
I mean, to put it simply, man, you couldn't have asked for a better career, right? Let's just keep it 100. Like someone said, if people seem to forget, there was a time before that Conor McGregor fight. There was a time before that knockout, that 11-second, 7-second knockout. There was a time before that, where Aldo was king of the world, man. I mean, what was it? Almost a decade undefeated?
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. I mean, that level of consistency, that pressure every night to have the need to win and have the will to win and want to win. That as a whole is a moment that any athlete, is just, wanting. That's something I don't think he'll ever forget. And it must have felt so good to be that fucking guy for that long. Mm-hmm. And then after the defeat, kind of not being that guy, which credit to him for being able to manage that. I'd love to hear him talk about that era of time. I'm sure maybe there's some interview out there, but about that whole time, talk about his 10 years of dominance and then it being stopped in a matter of seconds and kind of like the aftermath and how mentally that affected him and how he moved on from it, because that's some true fucking resilience, dude. That's the mental aspect of fighting, and that is something that people seem to not understand how big of a part it plays at times. Mm-hmm. And as far as moment, man, I mean, that knee on Chad Mendes, I think I saw it, his fight in WEC against Brown. Mm-hmm. I saw that a few nights ago. And you posted a picture of it. I mean, him jumping into that crowd in Rio is a sick-ass picture, dude. I mean, mm-hmm. And honestly, it breaks my heart that he's leaving right now because they were going to do a card in Rio here to start next year. And I would love to see Jose go out there, fight his last fight, and win or lose, go out on a banger, give him a good matchup, Dominic Cruz, Frankie Edgar, whoever it may be, and let it play out as it is, and be in front of his home crowd, retire, the hype, the yelling, setting down the glove. I mean, it would have been a beauty, but I think he had a baby just born. Mm-hmm. I think he's at peace with his decision. He knows he's not going to be chasing titles. He's like, something. There's no point of one more. Let's just end it, which is completely respectable.
Of course, and I think him having a kid probably influenced his decision a lot. Yeah, man. I mean, just him deciding to make the decision to call it quits now. It's disappointing, but I get it, and I don't blame him whatsoever. And I think that, it is what it is in that regard. Because I think that he's always been a guy that was going to fight for titles, and he's not. Some guys, they kind of either consciously or subconsciously make that decision where it's like, all right, I'm not going to be a champion anymore. I'm just going to have some fun fights. Jose was never going to be that guy. It was always championship or bust. And I think even at 135, he could be a champion, especially, funnily enough, I think him against Aljo would be interesting, because I think that's a match that's very beneficial for Aldo, if I'm being completely honest. At the same time, though, he lost, and he didn't want to have to go through the trials and tribulations of trying to get a title shot again. And I don't blame him for that. As far as my favorite Jose Aldo memory, it's essentially take your pick. I mean, the guy's had incredible, he had incredible knockouts for well over a decade. He had incredible performances for well over a decade. He's never not been a champion or in title contention for his entire career. And I'm glad that you brought up the thing about the McGregor loss, because in a way, my favorite Jose Aldo memory is not a single isolated fight. It's not like one moment. It's losing to Conor McGregor. And I think in the fashion that he lost, there was probably 5% of fighters total in either throughout MMA history. I'll put it like that. I think there's 5 to 10% of fighters in MMA history that would have been able to lose to Conor in the fashion that Jose Aldo did and rebound in the way that he did. He did not cry about it. He did not stay and sulk and feel bad for himself. You know what he did? He lost to Conor McGregor. 6 months later, he was back and beating Frankie Edgar in his fucking prime, who just knocked out Chad Mendes to win back the belt. Guess what? And then, like, he moved on, and, like, he was just so fucking good. Like, that is, and for him, like, what was it, 34, to drop down in a weight class, move down to bantamweight, and for him to become another title challenger there, that's fucking insane, dude. So, look, I mean, like I said, my favorite Jose Aldo moment is not like a single fight. It's that whole saga of him losing to McGregor, going through like that agonizing just moment. Like a decade of dominance ruined in 13 seconds. That would destroy 90% of fighters. But it did not destroy Jose Aldo in his 30s. Becomes champion once again, drops down a weight class. Nearly becomes champion again at another weight class. I mean, the guy is just, he's one of the greatest fighters of all time, and there's not much of a doubt about it. And so thank you, Jose Aldo, for 15 years of fighting that were just incredible to watch, from the WEC to UFC, and if he goes on to do boxing or whatever it is that he wants to do, we'll be watching as well. So, yeah, man, thank you, Jose Aldo. Incredible fighter and the King of Rio, riding off to the sunset. So, incredible fighter, and one of the greats to ever do it. But speaking of Brazilians, man, this guy actually was retired, and we talked about him retiring, 4 months ago?
And being retired, staying retired.
Yeah. Marlon Moraes having one of the shortest MMA retirements, which is saying a lot.
He pulled the Tyson Fury on us, Josh.
He did. He retired a couple months ago. Unretires. He got released from the UFC, and now he's going to fight in the PFL. Don't have too many thoughts on this one outside of the fact that I don't think it's going to go well for him whatsoever. But what do you think about this decision for him to go ahead and return to competition and to sign with the PFL?
I mean, look, I think the one benefit to it is maybe he doesn't cut weight and he fights at 145 finally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
I believe that is the plan.
I imagine. Nevertheless, though, we'll have to see it play out. With the amount of damage that he's taken, though, in recent time, the knockouts, it just doesn't seem like a good idea, man. But look, for all we know, he comes back. The weight cutting was a big issue. Maybe, being, sustaining, maybe the why his chin maybe was taking the way it was, and maybe he takes bigger shots, it doesn't go down, and maybe he's a better fighter at 145. We don't know, right? A lot of things could happen. You could hope, but we'll have to see it play out. And, it's iffy because of the way his career was going at the end of the UFC, that's why.
Yeah, because it wasn't just like Marlon was losing at the end of his UFC career. He was getting annihilated by virtually everybody he was facing. Now, granted, he fought the class of the division. You know what I mean? And some of those fights he didn't look all bad in. I mean, the Barab one, he nearly knocked him out. But, yeah, man, interesting decision. And I think people are going to be surprised at, I'm not sure how many times they're going to be surprised, but the PFL has some good fucking fighters. Just because you don't know them doesn't mean that they're not good. And we've seen a couple of these aging veterans. I almost feel like PFL is becoming like, it's becoming like old Bellator in a way.
Kind of, but they're not getting them too old though, because they just got Shane Burgos and Thiago Santos, which for 205, like being older isn't a big deal. Marlon, he's not old by any means, so they're getting them at an okay time, you know what I mean? And those names are pretty fucking entertaining, dude. Like, those are some of the most entertaining guys you could have got.
Yeah, no, and I agree to a degree, but there's also, like, Verdum, Pettis, Stevens, now Moraes.
Verdum retired, though, right?
Verdum retired and unretired. He did a Moraes, who did a Tyson Fury.
Man.
So, yeah. Yeah, anyways, man. Yeah, I don't like this move. But it is what it is in that regard.
Look, because, like I said, for all we know, it works.
It could work. I mean, maybe he stops cutting weight. He's not that old. Granted, he fought for a long time. He's not that old. I mean, it's not improbable for him to, like, make some sort of decent comeback, but we'll see what happens. This next one, man, I don't know how the fuck to feel about this one. Floyd Mayweather is going to be fighting either this Saturday or Sunday morning, depending on the time zone, in Japan against Mikaru Asakura and Ryzen. That's not what we're going to talk about, because we've seen Floyd fight MMA fighters. He's going back to the well once again, Angel.
He's fighting a real boxer, Josh.
He's fighting an undefeated professional boxer. Rising prospect, Gennadiy the Tank. Was coming off his incredible knockout over also undefeated professional boxer Fuzi last month. Because those fights.
Holy fuck, that was just too
guess
much.
what? He was undefeated. He was 0-0. You know.
He was. You're not wrong.
So apparently, and this one's not confirmed yet. What is it? They're backed by Abu Dhabi. I believe. Global Titan Fight Series, which is where Floyd Mayweather fought Don Moore earlier this year, his former training partner, and also Anderson Silva fought in the undercard. They're apparently going to do another event in November, and Floyd Mayweather will main event against Gennadiy in an exhibition. Jesus Christ. And then also, here's even better for you, Angel. Apparently, Tommy Fury, this one's apparently not done yet, Tommy Fury is apparently in talks to fight Tyron Woodley in the co-main.
Oh. Fucking can't, dude.
And then, dude, this is literally just broke right now, Angel. This is a big YouTube boxing. YouTube boxing is going off lately, man. Because you know what, Dr. Mike,
the guy who beat what's his name?
Idubbbz
actually
came back in the 5th round, was putting it on him. Guess what? He's gonna fight Chris Avila on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. So, look, man, what do you think? What do you make of all these fights?
It's funny, Chris Avila, the fucking MMA fighter. What the fuck?
Yeah. So, what do you think, man?
Dude, what the fuck? I was trying to talk to Mike, right? Like, what do you get, Chad?
Apparently Dr. Mike's been training in boxing for a long time, which is why he beat up Idubbbz and, you know, but Idubbbz had that dog and came back in round 5, didn't even complain whenever he got cheap shotted on the fake glove touch. I mean, you know, he's got that dog in him. Regardless, Dr. Mike going to be stepping in against Chris Avila, which is the weirdest creative matchup. If you told me this like a couple of years ago, I would never believe it. Like, that's so fucking bizarre.
By the way,
yeah,
if Woodley
fights are.
By the way, if Woodley goes up against Tommy and Tommy can't ice Woodley, what do you think?
What do you mean? I don't think it proves anything.
Like, he doesn't have a good performance against Woodley.
Well, I mean, if it's been a good performance is different than icing him, though. I think
both.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to beat him. Easy.
What if he doesn't? I'm just saying, if he doesn't.
Well, then it's a pointless conversation then, because if he doesn't, then it's like his boxing career is over. But really, his boxing career is pretty much over already. Because he's not.
I'm getting at. Does that change the kind of performance you think Tommy would have put it against Jake? That's why I'm presenting the question.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's why. So that's why I was really confused why you weren't getting what I was getting at there. But it's understandable.
Yeah. Well, now I get it. Would that change my perception? Yeah, I suppose so. But it has to depend on how bad a performance is. Because quite frankly, I remember people arguing that like Tyron Woodley would beat Tommy Fury. I'm like, no. I think Tommy might even beat him worse than Jake, just because Tyron does not do well, especially with any sort of volume. He already gasses out, and he already doesn't throw any punches. And Tommy Fury, there's one thing he does well, and it's really only this one. He overwhelms guys. He doesn't give them a chance to breathe. He's always doing stuff. He's always marching forward. So I think Tyron's going to get fucked up, and I think people are going to be surprised. But
I think you'll be surprised, Josh. I think with Tyron Woodley,
you think Tyron can beat him?
No,
not can, but you think he will?
No, I was just joking around.
Okay, all right.
But Josh, wait, when Tyron Woodley comes out here and ices Tommy Fury, you'll see that Jake Paul's actually the greatest boxer on the planet, Josh.
Dude, I'm getting so close right now. Keep on going.
Dude, he's the greatest boxer on the planet. He's gonna fight Canelo. He's gonna beat the Titan. He's gonna fight Bivol and show that he's the GOAT.
Dude, you don't get it, dude. These other boxers just keep on ducking him, alright? Jake, the problem child, future champion.
Because he didn't want to make weight because he was scared. He was scared of Jake.
And Tommy Fury went back in time and had his brother become friends with a drug kingpin, so he couldn't come into the U.S. because he was scared.
Did you see something like that? What the fuck did that come?
Well, that's what they're saying. Oh, Tommy's scared to fight him. He couldn't come to the country because his brother was friends with Daniel Kinahan.
Hey, they were acquainted. I mean, do we know they were friends?
Yeah. Tyson. I don't think Tommy even knew him very well.
I mean, Josh,
Tyson
this is.
was.
Okay, I'm not gonna say that. Never mind. We'll get canceled if I say that. Continue.
Yeah, apparently Tyson was good friends with him though.
Okay.
I think like he even managed him for a little bit. So yeah, I mean they banned 600 people in connection to Daniel Kinahan. It doesn't. If you even knew that motherfucker, you weren't coming to the U.S. So I know. So dumb.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I do not know Daniel Kinahan. I do
not know Daniel Kinahan either. I thought it was so dumb whenever he went ahead and people thought like, oh yeah, he's ducking. I'm like, if you wanted to make the argument for the first time, I wouldn't even agree. But like for the second time, it's like, man, he literally can't even get in the U.S. It's like people are like, oh, just go get a visa. I'm like, dude, this is a fucking clearance issue. Like he's connected to a domestic terrorist. Even if that connection's small, he's not going to be led to the U.S. But regardless.
Dude, it's the motherfucking government, bro. It's not customs.
Yeah, and people act like, oh, just go get a visa. It's like, dude, Daniel Kinahan's not even just a drug dealer. He's considered a fucking terrorist because like they've done some bombings on Ireland and shit. Like he's a legit monster, dude. So, yeah, that was so dumb. But anyways, yeah, as far as these 3 fights getting announced or not even announced because we don't even know if 2 of these will happen, but it's looking like that. Interesting. That's all I gotta say. It's interesting. Dr. Mike versus Chris Avila. I can't believe they made that fight. That's so funny. I can't believe they made that. That's so fucking funny, dude. But yeah, they announced that right now. But, yeah, man. Probably by the time to move on, though. Next controversy is, The Rock. Yeah, The Rock is a known UFC fan. He's talked about it before. I even seen, like, he was back at a fight back in, like, 2005. Or like, he's been around the game for a long time. He's been a long time fan. The Rock actually has his own brand of workout apparel. I did not know until they actually made the deal with the UFC a couple months ago. But now they're actually having the fighters wear the shoes, and it's come out that they are not making any money for it whatsoever. Unlike other deals where, Reebok and Venom, UFC fighters have made a certain amount. Not much, but they've made some money for wearing it. They're not making any money for having to wear the Rock shoes, and it's come under his company come under a really big fire from a lot of different people, UFC fighters, Nate Diaz, Terrence McKinney was talking about it, and there was a couple other ones as well. What do you make of this whole thing, man? I gotta admit, like, I like The Rock a lot. You know what I mean? He seems like one of those good guys. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's not The Rock's fault. Right?
It's not entirely The Rock's fault, but as like to be a fan and to watch this, because it kind of pissed me off too, because this guy's he's watched sport for a long time, man. Like,
he's competed too as a pro athlete.
Yeah, like he's competed like in football, and he knows what, because like people forget, like, dude, like WWE is worse than the UFC in terms of like fighters getting paid for shit. They don't get paid for anything extra they do. UFC fighters get paid for some extra shit, right? So he knows what it's like to be an exploited athlete, but he still not giving a single cut. And I hope this gets fixed soon. But what do you make of this whole thing?
I get it, man. I completely get it. I get it on both ends because I know The Rock doesn't have directly, but he could be a big change in that, right? Because obviously it's, and especially him who at times can be a very outspoken guy and has a lot of power, and is someone who, obviously we're not going to get to politics or nothing, but he's talked about running as a politician.
Future president Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah. You know what I mean? We're not going to get into that. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You know how people are about this stuff.
I don't think that we can hurt anybody's feelings. I don't think The Rock has said anything political outside of, oh yeah, I might run for president. Like,
I don't know. People. There's some people who are just offended by that idea. You know how the planet is, Josh.
Yeah, fair enough. Go ahead.
I'm just saying it for the sake of saying it. Not so much because that's how I personally feel, but just
Yeah, go ahead though.
How people are. Yeah. But I mean, he could make a difference, right? But like I said, I get both sides. It would be awesome if they made like, the Rock bonus of the night, right, to kind of make up for that, or make a deal where they get some portion of money like the other other ones do. Because I mean, if they signed a deal, clearly they could probably do that. Obviously, the financials and all that, all the break, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know how that business side of that works, how the money side of that all works. So it makes sense, right? That's a whole other aspect of things. That's something I'm not educated on. At times, look, I can give you the simple opinion that I believe the fighters, if they are going to, share something, with the people, a product, whether or not they like it or not, because it's not their choice in this case, should get some sort of benefit out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think that's a controversial opinion either. I think that I don't know, man. I think it's pretty messed up. I think it is because it's not even just like they don't even have to get paid that much. Like I don't think because it's shoes and they don't really have to wear them because they're fighting in a cage. But
And
even
even
make
then,
these guys wear the shit during fight week. They should be compensated for that shit. Can you imagine the NBA if this is a thing? Like you have to wear shoes.
Well, dude,
I
mean, shoe culture and basketball are a massive thing.
That's probably let's use something. Shoe culture is not a big deal in baseball. How about that?
Yeah. From what I know.
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of fucking crazy. It really is. Because it's just embarrassing sometimes. You know what I mean, for the UFC to be as big of a corporation because they've grown in so many aspects. But in terms of pay, it's just it's fucking 2008 over here, dude. Actually 2008 was better because fighters could wear whatever they wanted and they'd get paid from sponsors from it. So it's just embarrassing. But yeah, I hope this gets fixed soon. I think it probably will, considering The Rock. I'm sure you probably didn't know about this whole thing, honestly.
Probably that's probably a more realistic thing, yeah.
Because when you're a fucking businessman, you're probably not involved with all the super inner workings. Because The Rock has a bunch of stuff coming. I mean, fucking Black Adam's coming out next month, man. I'm psyched.
That shit dude, that looks like a fucking banger.
Dude, I'm so fucking excited for that movie, dude. That shit is gonna be.
It's been a while since I've gotten a wreck from something that wasn't. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I'm also very excited. It's the first time I've been excited for a superhero movie. Really excited. And I guess he's not even super. Isn't he an anti-hero?
Villain, he's had his moments, but regardless.
Yeah, I guess you would know more than me. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. So, yeah. Anyways, to kind of get back to the original topic, hope they fix this shit soon. But yeah, not a whole lot to say outside of that. Next up, Raul Rosa Jr. is going to be making his Dana White Contender Series. Already by the time you guys listen to this, he would have already made his debut, but he's only 17, and it's become a bit of I don't want to say controversy because I don't think anybody's too angry about it, but it is becoming a bit of piece of news because this kid actually had to go out and get I believe parental permission. He had to run through a bunch of different checks to get this fight and to get the Contender Series. He might be the youngest UFC fighter ever under contract if he possibly wins later tonight. What do you think about him fighting at such a young age and him ultimately making his way on the Contender Series?
I'm going to dumb this down really simply. As a man, you have to respect it. You know what I mean? Because he's not a boy if he's making this decision. You know what I mean? I'm just going to be blatantly honest. If he's making this decision of going to Mexico, taking on these pro fights, and chasing the dream of being a professional, and the fact that he caught the UFC's eye somehow, and I've seen some of his fights. Kid has skills. Kid has good. He has a potential. He has a ceiling. He's fighting at a good weight class, too, where he could do some stuff. And, yeah, you could tell. He's not there's some guys you see that are young that it looks like you could see there's a little hit of something special. But the only issue is he's young. He's not in his adult male body yet. And in situations like these, Josh, I told you before we started the show, and I was talking to someone else. I think I was talking to a family member, and I think I mentioned it to my dad. I was like, I feel like this goes one of two ways. One, he looks really good, competitive, or just really good, or he gets extremely fucked up and hurt. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any in between. Maybe. I think that's the lowest percentage though. Of it being a back and forth crazy fight, slugfest, fucking Mark Hunt, Bigfoot Silva, fucking ends in the draw type deal. No, I don't think it ends. I don't think there's a possibility. It's either he is amazing, looks good, fucking next big thing. Not necessarily next big thing, but has a big future ahead of him. Or two, he gets really fucked up and it was just too much too soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see it going any other way either. I think I think it's kind of cool that there is this kid that's this young fighting a Contender Series. Moving past the fact that he's a minor, that's not really the problem. He's very clearly not grown into his adult body yet. I'm not sure how I feel because I agree. I went back and watched his most recent fight, and he looks like he has a lot of potential and there's a lot of skill there. But whenever you're this young, it's a little bit iffy for me. He very clearly has a lot of talent. I don't want to see that get destroyed by him getting into the UFC at such a young age. Because we've already seen guys like Sage Northcutt is probably a good example, probably the best one, as a guy who came in super young. But we've seen other guys over the years come in at such a young age, and they just get chewed up and spit out by the UFC because they're not prepared for that. And I hope that does not happen here, but obviously this could all be a moot point because he might end up losing like fucking later tonight. So, as far as the concept of him fighting at such a young age, iffy about it, especially in the UFC. But
I think the important thing is if he is to win, if the UFC decides to give him either a contract or developmental contract like they did for Chase Hooper, which if they do, fucking great, right? Best case scenario. And on top of that, his team being very smart and being like, hey, you're 18, bro. Take it slow.
Yeah.
He's about to turn 18 here in October. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. He's already overachieved. He's already done something that a lot of people at his age can't do, and that's know what you love and what you want to do and be right at the door of it and just being right there. Like, he's going to be, you know how many guys are in their 20s, like mid to late 20s, early 30s, who are hungering for an opportunity to be in the UFC or in the PFL or Bellator or one, and this kid is getting it tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that shit, the pressure, everything, the training camp, I can't imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, man, that's a lot for such a young kid to have to do, but
we'll see what happens, man. I think it could be a beautiful moment.
No, I agree. And I think possibly like the best case scenario would be a developmental contract. I think that would be great for him, honestly. I mean, I would love to see that. Maybe even like a Bo Nichols type thing where maybe he fights a Contender Series twice, or do the Greg Hardy route where they have him go fight in the regional scene on Fight Pass a couple of times. That'd make a lot of sense, but
perfectly fine as well.
Yeah, so let's see what happens though. But anyways, last topic of the day, Angel, you actually recommended this one. Logan Paul, who we were under the assumption that he was probably going to end up fighting later this year. Likely
he teased us in a different way, though. I think this is what probably he was actually teasing.
It could be, but he's going to be fighting, but not in the boxing ring or in the MMA cage. No, in fact, he will be fighting in the pro wrestling ring.
The real one. The real wrestling.
Yeah, he's going to be in the WWE ring. He's going to be he's actually getting a title shot in his third ever match.
That's historic right there.
Yeah, Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia in November, excuse me. So, yeah, Angel, what do you think?
It's cool, dude. I'm going to be honest with you. I would have given, honestly, Roman Reigns, you could have named any other guy in the promotion, and I could have given zero fucks. Obviously, I haven't watched wrestling in forever, but the fact that they're having Logan in there, and plus that, Roman cut a really good promo.
Yeah. I mean, they are building this up very well. Which is good because I don't like the way that they're kind of building this up. They had a press conference, which WWE rarely does. And they built it up pretty well. Essentially, the idea behind this one is like, oh yeah, like Reigns is probably going to beat the shit out of him, but Logan just needs one shot. He just needs one move, and that could be it. And I think that's an interesting way to tell it because they're not even putting Logan on the same level, which is very, very smart. They're like, yeah, you know what? Like, he could pull an upset. And quite frankly, there's nobody left around because Roman Reigns has been champion. If you guys don't follow WWE, he's been around. He's been champion since, I think, August 2020. So yeah, man, he's not lost in a fat minute. He holds.
What's the longest title reign?
I think Bruno Sammartino was champion was like 8 years in the 80s.
Fuck.
I mean, I could be misremembering that, but he had a really long. Yeah, he had a really long title reign, I believe.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, Roman's not going to hit that. I think most people tend to believe his title reign is going to end probably, next year, probably.
Well, it's going to end in Saudi Arabia, Josh.
Yeah. I mean, right? If you guys don't know, these shows are almost non-canon. Like, they'll happen, and then they'll just almost not even acknowledge them past the pay. Because it's like they put them, like, in the middle of the day. Not a lot of people watch. Like, it is what it is. And the Saudi Arabia pays a lot of money for these shows.
And after that, Josh, he's going to call up Brock Lesnar. Hell of the Cell.
You know what I would actually love? I think Logan, there's so many ways you could do this. What I would do, it's funny because you and I talked about this with all the boys for the pay-per-view. We talked a lot about wrestling earlier this month.
Which is so funny.
right? I even said, I was like, I'd be down for like a Logan U.S. title reign. I don't think he'll get a title reign anytime soon. Here's what I would want. I want somebody to interrupt this match and build for a Logan, an actual program against somebody. Like, whether that be a champion or Brock Lesnar or something. Like, this kid's already being thrown into the deep end. Let's use him. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go with this, so. Yeah,
who would be your number one option?
Oh, shit, dude. I mean, I'm trying to think. I think they're on different brands, so I don't know if it'll actually, never mind, they're on the same brand. There's this guy named, Gunther, and he's an Austrian guy, and I know I mentioned to you, but, off air, you know, he had a match with Sheamus earlier this month, which was literally a 5-star match, and they beat the shit out of each other. He's one of the hardest working guys in the business. He gives it as good as he fucking gets it, dude. Like, I want to see him have a match with fucking Gunther he's the Intercontinental Champion for the IC title. Let's go, dude. Like, those two guys are gonna beat the shit out of each other. Like, if you're gonna get Logan Paul to respect the business, that's the best way to do it. If you want to get fans on his side, there's nobody who goes harder in the ring than fucking Gunther, dude. So, yeah, like that would be fun. So, that's ideally what I would want. But also, I think Survivor Series is going to be the pay-per-view after, what's it called? Crown Jewel after Logan. Maybe they do some shit where it's like Logan faces off against Bad Bunny or some shit because he's also a celebrity wrestler side of the WWE, you know? So, I don't know.
Well, Bad Bunny put in work though too.
He did. He was not as good as Logan, but they both had 2 matches and they both been, pretty good. So, yeah.
I mean, Logan's a fucking athlete too. You know what I mean? No hate to Bad Bunny.
Yeah, I mean, Logan has taken a pro wrestling better than any other person I've seen.
It fits him so well.
It does. So, yeah, man, I'm excited for it. A lot of people will hate, be like, oh my god, it devalues the title. I'm like, dude, who the fuck else? He's been champion for over 2 years. Who else is he going to face? It's a non-canon show, essentially. It's in Saudi Arabia. Nobody's going to watch it. It's really just because, the Saudi Arabia, they want celebrities, Saudi Arabia does for their shows, and this is, how it's going to happen. So it really does not matter whatsoever. But on the bright side, I know that these two are going to go out there and put on a banger of a match. So
you'll see Logan get that title.
It'd be funny if it does happen. But as far as the show goes, anything else we want to talk about before we close out?
Will, Josh. It's real wrestling. You're
right. I mean, he's a former amateur wrestler, so he must be good as a pro. But yeah, man. Anything else we talk about before we close out?
No, nothing else, man. I had fun, man. I can't wait to be back, and we have Combat back next week, right? We're going to be back on track. That's going to be the Dern and Yana card, I believe, right?
Yeah, correct.
Man, I can't wait to just get back to it. Like I said, it sucks, but it's always nice to come back. And before we know it, man, we'll have that pay-per-view in Abu Dhabi, and we'll have the best card of the year.
Exactly, and can't wait for that one. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm excited for next week, and honestly, just some good comebacks to come back to, man. Because no offense, but honestly, this show went a lot longer than I thought it would. But yeah, man, I want to see that fucking pay per view, man. The wait for UFC 280 it's agonizing. But yeah, we'll get there eventually. As far as the show goes, I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at AngelTaker_01. At Courtside Sound for all things related to the show. RogueEnergy.com, code Soundoff. You want to go ahead and get yourself something. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Peace and butt grease. Mouse click.